Back in November 2016, Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan held a closed pre-World Economic Forum meeting with business leaders ahead of the annual meeting in Klosters, Davos in Switzerland. This year's gathering officially starts next week, Tuesday. It runs until the 20th under the theme Responsive and Responsible Leadership. Minister Ebrahim Patel for Economic Development joins us this morning to talk a little bit more about this year's World Economic Forum. Minister, lovely to have you. Thank you very much for joining us here on the program.
Good morning to you and to the viewers, Leanne, and best wishes for 2017 to all of you and to South Africa.
Yeah, indeed, and to you as well. I was actually having a look at seeing what the year is, and apparently it's the year of the rooster, which means that there's a lot of fire and a lot of opportunities ahead of us in 2017. Is that what you're taking to Davos? Fire and opportunities? Is there anything else we should know?
Certainly opportunity. You know, Leanne, the World Economic Forum brings together probably the biggest collection of investors across the world. And so it's an opportunity for us to take a South African message to say that there are huge opportunities in our economy and that investors, in fact, can benefit. But we do it because we need to create jobs and we need to reignite growth. And that really will be the story that government ministers as well as representatives of business will be taking to Davos. So that's really why we're going. But there are a few other reasons, because Davos also gives us an opportunity to see what is happening in the world of technology, how the factory of the future is being reshaped, and what South Africa should do about it. And then, of course, there are important policy discussions about globalization, about inclusion, how to deal with issues of inequality, and frankly, our biggest challenge, jobs and opportunity. So that will be the South African message. And even though we will be a relatively small delegation in a large gathering, I think we can make a big impact.
Good. In his pre-event media briefing, the World Economic Forum chair, that of course Klaus Schwab said, economic globalization was facing a mounting backlash against its effects, one of which is the rise of a new brand of populism. What are your thoughts on this, especially just as a pre-briefing and a run-up to this forum?
I think we've seen in the United States, in Europe, in parts of Asia, and perhaps even in South Africa, a rise of a populism that gives easy solutions to quite complex challenges and that promises on things that can't be delivered. What our responsibilities, and the theme of responsive leadership is we can't keep doing things in the old ways. There's an impatience among people across the world, and economies must respond to that. There's got to be greater opportunities. Someone sitting in Soweto who is struggling to make a living in a little spaza shop must say, government and the other big policy shapers in a society is doing things that will give me an opportunity to do something. A young person at a university or at a technical college must see that when they put in their effort and they get their diploma or their degree, that the economy is able to absorb them. And we do this in a context where the world economy has slowed down. The African economy, which has been a very big engine of South African development, has stalled in growth rates. Nigeria, for example, Leanne, is currently in a recession. Yeah. Angola's growth rate for 2016 was projected to be 0. And towards the end of last year, as you and many viewers will know, Egypt was forced to devalue its currency, and in a period of perhaps 2 to 3 weeks, in dollar terms, the Egyptian economy halved in value. Now, because Africa is such a big part, the rest of Africa is such a big part of our market opportunities, that's where we've been selling more South African manufactured goods. We've got to look also at reigniting African growth. And so the discussions with colleagues from other African countries and investors is about the opportunities here in South Africa, but also across the continent. And that's the message we're taking to Davos. You know, and so a well thought through strategy is an alternative to a populism that promises much but delivers very little.
Indeed. Just very quickly, Minister, we're just a few seconds before news. Last year was really a difficult year for South Africa, and I think more than anything, particularly on the financial front, was talking about downgrades and the perspective of global investors into South Africa. And we managed to dodge that. We really did. We managed to keep our ratings out of that junk status. Going into Davos, is this the same kind of feeling that you will be going in that you went to last year? Is that trying to reassure the world that we are going in the right direction and we are doing the right things?
You know, Leanne, when we engaged with rating agencies last year, they had a number of concerns, but the most compelling issue they asked us is, what is your growth story? Where will growth come from? And we were able to put to them a credible story that South Africa has growth opportunities and that our policies are increasingly unlocking those opportunities. And we pointed to a number of very interesting examples of things that are working at the moment. And we will be taking to Davos that similar story, the growth story. But for us also domestically, we need to ensure that that growth has an impact on the lives of ordinary South Africans, that it's inclusive, that it does address the big challenges that South Africans are looking to government and to the business community to work through. So we're talking to trade unions and to civil society as part of that dialogue. And when we go to Davos now, we're setting out a unified message, a message that we've tested and worked through with trade unions, with business organizations, with civil society, and within government across the three spheres. That's really what we will be putting. So yes, an interesting analogy you've drawn with rating agencies, and it's that growth story, the inclusive growth story that we will be taking forward.
Minister, thank you very much for talking to us. We wish you the best of luck, and we'll certainly be following the delegation very, very closely. That was in our Pretoria studio, our Economic Development Minister, Ebrahim Patel.